What is going on, Hillside family? As you can see, a little bit snowy outside. It's only about 25 degrees out. So why am I outside in the snow, and how can this be related to gardening? Well, let me go ahead and tell you right now, snow actually has some benefits for your yard, for your garden, for your fruit trees, everything like that. So I'm going to take you to the backyard, to the garden, show you some things that are going on, and talk about why snow is actually a good thing for your garden. Alright, so for number one, what are some things snow is good for? Well, snow is actually an excellent insulator. Okay, so as the snow falls on the ground, it's actually going to insulate the ground. It's going to help stabilize the temperature. It's not going to have a lot of fluctuation, which is actually worse for your plants. Once they're dormant, once your ground is frozen, once it's cold out, it's okay. Everything's dormant. It's how it's supposed to be. But warming and thawing actually can be detrimental to the plants and their roots. So if you look behind me to some of these onions and garlic, let me show you what I mean by insulation. So right here are some onions I planted last fall. They're going to overwinter and be harvested early in the spring as spring onions. And you see this nice layer of snow you have right there. Alright, this is actually keeping the soil covered, so it's not being exposed to wind. It's actually acting as an insulator. It's keeping the roots and everything stabilized down in there. If you look just over here to the right of those, that is some parsley. Parsley will overwinter most places. I'm in zone 6, so it's definitely overwinters here. Done it every year, and it does just fine. The snow is actually helping the parsley to overwinter as well. Alright, number two. Another thing snow is good for. Once upon a time, long time ago, I used to live up north, way up north, and it didn't rain. You know, a lot of your moisture may come in the form of snow in the wintertime. So by able to try to keep the snow into the fields with the stubble from the crops or just the trees themselves acting as a windbreak, whenever spring comes around and it melts, you have that initial burst of springtime moisture in your soil, which is definitely what farmers are definitely going to need for that crop to grow. Okay, so that can be the same with your garden. If you live in a place that doesn't receive a lot of snowfall or a lot of moisture in the wintertime, trying to trap some of that snow in your yard or in your garden or your raised beds may be beneficial, helping to insulate, like I just said. It's also going to add as a source of moisture early in the spring once that does actually begin to thaw. And you know, again, the snow is, you know, it's the best kind of precipitation you can get. It's from the sky. It's not treated. It's no chemicals. It's actually just going to be all-around good thing for your soil once it does actually thaw out and able to benefit the soil down below. Okay, so number three, if you look here, the cabbage here and the artichoke cardoons, they're in the background, the spiky things back there. But one thing you can notice about the cold and the snow, what it does is it actually interrupts insect cycles. So if you have a place that, or if you have a traditionally warmer place, insect pressure can go unchecked. You know, the winter time actually is very beneficial at killing off and disrupting the egg cycles of a lot of predatory or you know, bad insects that are they're going to harm your plants. So this actually you can think as a blessing in disguise. Is like a big reset button. Okay, it's killing off dormant eggs. It's killing off any kind of bugs that may have tried to, you know, survive late into the season where you were at. You can tell I think about 2 years ago, we had a very, very mild winter, and our insect pressure was crazy in the spring, just because there was not really enough killing cold to really balance out that natural cycle. And it took a while for the beneficial insects to kind of, you know, emerge, reproduce, and become great enough numbers that they could eventually overtake the aphids and the other bad insects that had kind of really gone unchecked due to the lack of cold weather. Okay, another tip, this would be number 4. What snow and cold can actually do to benefit your garden? Well, have you considered the fact that a lot of your fruit trees require, mandatory, they have to have a cold period. It's called the number of cold hours, chilling hours, however you may picture it, but apples especially, that's the pears, cherries, plums even, peaches, go on and on and on. Most of these stone fruits or traditional fruits we eat that are non-tropical, that grow in temperate climates, need that time, that chilling. They need that dormancy, and you'll see when you buy a variety, some are more cold determinant than others. You're actually going to have a higher or lower amount of chill hours. So if you live in a place that's, you know, South Georgia or Southern Mississippi, you don't want to buy a tree that has X amount of thousands of hours of cold, you know, rated below a certain temperature. It'll be, you know, determined by the variety, etc., etc. Mostly it means below 32 degrees or below 40. I forget which one it is. But you know, if you plant a tree that's, you know, been bred to grow in Montana and Washington or Idaho or the northern tier, Minnesota even, you know, you make sure you don't plant that variety somewhere way down south where it's just not going to get the required amount of chilling hours that's going to help the tree bear fruit and become healthy. So you could actually very much ruin your chances at having a good crop of fruit if you don't have enough cold, or maybe you have something that's way too cold and maybe it gets too many chilling hours and the tree itself is not really capable or really designed or bred, I suppose, to withstand that long of a cold period. So yes, snow can be definitely beneficial. It's going to keep the roots of those trees insulated. It's going to keep them, you know, tucked in without the temperature going up and down on them so much. So while it's doing that, it's going to provide the water as it melts, but it's also doing a thing by the cold temperature that is coming with the snow is helping do the chill hours to put the tree that's already dormant. All right, the tree is dormant. It's not going to know that it's snowing. It's not going to know really what's going on until the springtime really it wakes back up. But it's going to set your trees up to be ready to go just as soon as that first spring warmth hits, the water starts to evaporate, you know, the sap starts going up to those trees. They're going to be ready to rock and roll because the snow and the cold that they experienced the season before. All right, guys, tip number 5 about what is good for the snow and the cold in your garden. Okay, now much like the fruit trees I just talked about, some seeds and most tree seeds and a lot of your native flowers, etc., not so much garden plants that you're going to be trying to start indoors this time of year, which that's coming up, some videos on starting seeds in the early spring and late winter for that matter, so do check those out. But getting back to this, trees, yeah, a lot of these tree seeds require X amount of hours of cold for that cold stratification, okay, and that just simply means that the tree seed itself has experienced enough cold that it's going to break the dormancy of that seed. So is it 100% that it has to have so much cold or it'll never germinate? I mean, I don't know that for certain. I'm sure there are instances that some trees that you can plant them still in the spring that didn't have the cold dormancy period, but the chance of that they're going to be successful and germinate as readily are much less than a tree that's been properly stratified with the cold. So if you don't live in a place that's this cold, or you don't get the snow and the wind and the cover that we're getting back here, you can always take seeds and keep them in the refrigerator, okay? You can keep them over winter in the refrigerator and keep them in some soil or just a Ziploc bag. Make sure they stay moist. Don't let them get dried out. Made that mistake many times. But anyways, make sure that you keep them cold because that's going to trick the seed into thinking that it had a winter, okay? Maybe you're trying to grow something that maybe it's not really native to your region, but it'll grow there, if that makes any sense. But you know, you're not going to get that stratification naturally. So yeah, maybe you buy the seeds online, you buy them from an online retailer, something like that, Amazon, eBay, something, and you don't have trouble with the germination. That might be the reason why you're having poor germination with those seeds, because they were not properly stratified. So you have to do that yourself, which is super simple, super easy. I posted some videos about that before, so check those out as well if you get the time. So guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully these 5 tips I told you today about the snow and what benefit the snow and cold actually has in the garden, hopefully they were helpful. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you can maybe appreciate the snow just a little bit more. I know you're in this house and it's cold and you're looking forward to spring coming around, but you know what? The snow's outside, it's doing the work for you, okay? It's doing its job. It's all part of the natural cycle of things. So just try to embrace it, and you can always grow indoors. Grow lights, you got heating mats. I mean, you can grow indoors. It's so easy to do that just as well while outside Mother Nature is taking her turn with the cold. Alright guys, so thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. I'll see you next time out here on the hillside. Bye bye and stay warm.